Andrea today,
Yeah,
and
that's right. We're
and
mixing
then
things up for our big return.
so I'm on work leave right now. No, my name's John. This is Andrea. We're back. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Man, we're back in what? It's barely been a month, 3 weeks since our last show.
Yeah, yeah, 3 weeks. It seems like it's been a long time, but it really hasn't been that
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Well, I've now are the reason obviously for our hiatus is the fact that I have had my baby. Um and with having yay with having my baby, time has absolutely lost all meaning. Days kind of just trip over one another. So
Yeah.
truly it could have been 3 weeks, it could have been a month. You could have convinced me it was 2 months. Like, I don't know. But I'm here, I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's been, yeah, like you say, it feels like a long time just because a lot's happened, I suppose,
Yes,
and especially
indeed.
for you. So, yeah, I can only imagine the mad dash, the nonstop. So,
Yes, indeed. And the surprise of, baby coming a week early. Nobody was quite prepared for that, least of all me. So so it kind of added to the drama and the excitement, to
sure.
have her arrive unannounced and unplanned a week early. So
I mean, I guess it's like one less week of nerves, right?
that's right. That's right. One less
Yeah.
week of waiting and just,
Yeah.
worrying, what's labor and delivery going to be like?
Mhm.
Apparently absolutely nothing like I thought. And
Oh, yeah.
nothing, yeah, nothing like I was prepared for. Um
Okay.
but kind of in a good way. A lot of books and things were saying, oh, labor can take a really long time, especially with your first. So, be
Mhm.
prepared to wait it out, like stay at home, try to distract yourself, you know, bring movies and bring snacks and puzzles and things to do because you're going to have so much time.
Sure.
And that was not the case for me.
Nice. You're a
we
pro at this then.
apparently I'm just ready to, shoot out babies. Yeah, because Chris and I basically packed a whole bag to take to the hospital that we didn't even use. We had like all these
Okay.
books and a laptop in there for, movies, and we had music and, yeah, all this different stuff in there that we didn't even touch, uh, because everything just happened so quickly. So
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like I said, kind of a good thing. Um, didn't really have to like wait around and dread what was going to happen. But yeah,
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
exciting nonetheless.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Proud mother. I can't imagine the stress and the whole ordeal, but I'm sure you guys are gonna do great. So
Thank you. We're trying. We've kept her alive for 3 weeks plus now, so
I mean,
I feel like
yeah,
that's a good
mark
measure of
off the
success.
months.
That's right.
That's why they have the like month birthdays and stuff. It's just like, yes, they're still here.
That's right. That's
Um,
right. Yeah, it's not really about the kid. It's about like, oh my God, we did it.
yeah. Awesome. Well, this is a podcast
Hmm.
about babies and our lives. We talk about that stuff, but also about pop culture things that
Hmm.
we manage to watch and consume in one form or another.
Hmm.
And sometimes there's drinks involved. You have not had any drinks involved in quite some time.
Very true.
So we'll see how that. A few surprises with something here. Um, but babies out. What else? What else have you managed to squeeze in? And I mean, like you say, it's been like 3 weeks or whatever now.
Yes.
So, what have you managed to watch or read or anything else that's been going on?
Yeah. So I've actually, being at home, kind of, alone with the baby and having to take care of her, on and off. I've actually managed to consume quite a bit of different media. Um, the things that I've really been able to watch and pay attention to and get excited about, I would say, are both anime. I finished Promise Neverland, the second season. I was
Okay.
surprised it was a little shorter than the first, but then when I watched the final episode, I was like, nope, I'm clearly watching the final episode.
Okay.
They definitely
How
like
many
solidly
episodes
wrapped
was
that
it?
up. 11.
Okay. We've been meaning to like get back on that.
Sure.
Especially because the last episode we stopped on was so good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you definitely should. The back half of the episodes go really quickly, and they get really good. And then I was a little taken aback by the ending. Um, so I'm interested to see what you think as well, because I think it was a tonal shift that I wasn't quite ready for, but the
okay.
episodes leading up to it were excellent. Kind of building on that back half momentum,
Yeah.
stopping at that one episode where everything was just kind of getting good. So yeah, so I managed to finish that, and then I've also finished One Punch Man. So I'm excited
Okay.
because Phil, our friend Phil, had recommended that, and he was so excited to see what I had to say about it, because that became his new favorite anime very quickly. So I got to let
Right.
him know that I finished it, and we should have Phil on to talk about it, because I
Yeah.
know
So
I
you
know
did
he'd be
both
super
seasons?
excited. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I will I'll commit to finishing One Punch Man so then we can we can talk about that cuz
Yeah,
yeah, it's not like we're short on things to talk about in content, but absolutely
absolutely.
definitely been a thing that I've been wanting to finish. Everybody loves it. Producer Alan loves it.
hmm
It's all good. So,
Yeah, I
I
quite
got
enjoyed
down.
it. And it was a nice show to watch when I was actually able to sit down and focus on it. Because there were definitely times, between being exhausted or, taking care of the baby, where, I couldn't really sit down to focus on something.
Right.
So that was when I watched a lot of background TV, watched a lot of House Hunters International, because
Okay.
I miss traveling, and it was kind of a fun way to like see all the parts of the world, where people
Yeah.
buy houses. Plus, I love judging what people pick, and
Okay.
that was the reason
Yeah.
I used to watch like Say Yes to the Dress all the time, was
Mm,
because I got to judge what people like decided on for their wedding.
they get
And
hung up on something. Like there's
yes,
one clearly another thing is a better choice, but they're like, I
yes.
must do this because of whatever.
Mhm. And it's hilarious to, like, watch that while people are, like, wearing a dress, but then to, like, also watch that while people are choosing a house, and they're like, we just watched one the other night where this couple was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna get this house because one of the bathrooms doesn't have a door on it." And I was like, "But this house is, like, everything you want. It's got, like, the view, it's got the space, it's got how many bedrooms, it's in your price range, and you're literally turning it down because it doesn't have a door." Like, put put a door on the
Door there.
bathroom. You
Yeah.
can do that. So, yeah, so that's a lot of fun, to kinda watch in the background, but also, like, pay attention a little bit. And then I'm also watching, a Netflix show called Grace and Frankie, and it's with
Okay.
Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, Martin Sheen, and Sam Waterston. Um, and they're all like, playing older couples in their 70s who used to be like two couples, heterosexual couples that were married to each other. And then finally in their 70s, the two husbands come out as gay, and they're in love with each other, and they're going to get married. So they like divorce the wives, and then they like start
Wow.
their new lives together, and they all kind of have to like readjust to everything.
Messy.
Yeah, it is, but it's hilarious, and like it's a super talented cast. um Martin Sheen and Sam Waterston in particular just crush it as
Chris and I are gonna do that someday.
yeah,
The new
just
show.
wait till you're in your 70s, because then it'll
70s.
it'll
Yeah.
be funny.
Yeah.
Then it'll be comedic gold.
Yeah. All for the payoff from this one show. One Netflix
Exactly.
show. Yep. Hmm.
Exactly. So yeah, so it's nothing too serious. It's very frothy and light, and like I said, kind of good background television. So
Hmm.
that's
Cool.
yeah, that's kind of all the I think all the media I've been consuming, other than obviously our main topic for today, which is Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to introduce that up front. We will be getting to the first two episodes of
Hmm.
Falcon and Winter Soldier today. I believe it's only 6 episodes total.
Yeah,
So
very short.
yeah, so we're just one behind. But
Hmm.
yeah, we'll cover all those for you. Um, I was in Florida, I
You
believe, when
were.
you gave birth.
You were.
Think so. It kind of worked out because like if you had had your regular due date, then like I would have had trouble recording the one time.
Hmm.
You would have had trouble recording next. I don't know. It's whatever. But
Yeah, just a smidge of trouble.
yeah. So
Hospital wasn't really conducive for recording.
yep. So yeah, I got a haircut and I walked the beach. The beach was gorgeous. Weather was so nice, and just like beach is just littered with shells, and it was so nice to walk in the clear water along the coast. Like that alone, I got very burnt. My arms have been peeling pretty good. Um, I did a little fishing on their pier.
Okay.
There was there was a family, and was kid in particular that was fishing off the pier, and the railings were quite high, and
Hmm.
so they cast the line over, and the pelicans there aren't dummies, and so they will wait for people to snag a fish and then
Ah,
try to get it. Well, there are
nice.
signs up of what happens if you catch a pelican. Well, this kid did indeed. It like came close to getting a pelican, and then it like swallowed the hook. It
Oh,
swallowed it broke
geez.
off. Yep.
Okay.
So you
So,
figure, okay, you learn off of this one now, right?
right.
Because but the kid did it again, and this time it got hooked, and the bird was on the line.
Oh,
And
geez.
so they don't know what to do. They're freaking out and stuff. Well, kid's kind of happy. He's like, "Oh, I got a bird, whatever." Um, but this local came over, and he kind of knew what to do, and he
Okay.
helped. He like slowly reeled the bird up, and he like brought him over the edge and took him by the mouth and got the hook out and stuff. And then he
Okay.
kind of like picked him up by the wings, sort of, and like kind of, I know you can't really see my hands as I'm doing this, but like kind of tossed him over the edge so he could kind of fly down and stuff.
Sure.
So he was okay. Um, but it's like they're waiting down there. You've got to, if you catch it, snag a fish, you've got to, once you get it above the water, you got to pull it up,
Right.
get it up.
No time to
And
waste.
yeah. And the kid is small and he couldn't see, and just like, so the dad needed to like take the rod. I know like you want the kid to catch the fish, but you're just like, it's
At
not
that
gonna,
point. Yeah.
yeah. So everybody
So,
cheered. Yeah.
so what happens if you catch a pelican? Like, what do they
I
do to
mean,
you?
well, I don't know what they do. They don't do anything to you. They're just telling you the signs tell you kind of like that you're trying to, whoa, there goes your webcam.
Yeah, I know.
I was getting dizzy. Um, I
All
was,
right, I'm back.
the signs say like they're trying to tell you to not cut the line, because then, yeah, it swallows the hook and stuff or whatever. So they're trying to tell you to,
Okay.
get the hook out if you can or whatever. But if you don't have someone that's there that has a pliers and is
Yeah.
it, yeah, I don't know, I'm sure there's people that have caught them before on there and just don't have any idea what to do.
Yeah.
And maybe
I
someone
wouldn't.
runs to the shed that they rent rods out of and stuff, maybe
Mhm.
and they can kind of help or whatever.
Mhm.
But if you're fishing after hours and that's closed, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was excitement.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to
Yeah.
do, especially like a pelican. Like
Yeah.
they're not exactly like small birds that you can just
Yep.
handle.
So
I mean, you
you
kind of got to
reel it up.
know.
Yep. Reel it up slowly, trying to let it kind of help itself fly
Mhm.
some, and
Yeah.
then you grab it by the neck. And the bird didn't fight too much, I suppose, but being firm about it, grab him by the neck and use that pliers and hope he
Yeah.
didn't swallow it too far. So,
Yeah. Yikes.
yep.
Well, good this
And then
guy knew what to
someone over
do.
there caught a puffer fish. Um, so that was the hot spot, I guess, birds and puffer fish. But
All the things
So
you
yeah,
probably shouldn't be eating.
yeah,
Probably really shouldn't
that
be
was
fishing for.
right. I don't know what pelican tastes like, but probably
Mm.
not the best.
No, it seems like it'd be a little tough.
Yep. So that was great fun. Went with my parents, and then spent time recovering from sunburn. And then we talked weeks ago about the Snyder Cut, uh,
Yes.
Justice League Snyder Cut. And I remember specifically expressing, well, okay, it's cool, but how different is this really going to be? Well, I watched that now. It is very different. It's
Okay. Okay.
shockingly different. Did you see the original cut at all?
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen the original
You
cut.
did.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
So
I will be watching the Snyder cut because especially now, like if it's as different as you say it is, I have to know. Like I have to
I
know,
mean,
what the vision was.
especially if you remember that film well at all, like
Hmm.
I'm just
I
because
mean,
I didn't see the original.
oh,
So
okay.
I am going off of I after the watching this, I watched a lot of like comparison videos,
Okay,
different
I see.
how it was all different and stuff. And I am stunned. So
Okay.
um I won't say whether I loved it or hated it or just thought it was okay. I'll wait to see what you thought of it.
Sure.
But I'll just say it was very different than the theatrical cut for sure.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the theatrical cut. Um, I think I remember seeing it in theaters, and then I've seen it since then as well. So I mean, I have flashes of what it was, what my general thoughts were. Overall, unfortunately, not that memorable of a movie, so I don't know that like you know my impressions of it were really solidly formed, or there's much that I care to remember because there were definitely some rough spots in that film. So I'll be interested to
There
see
were
what I think after watching the
yeah,
Snyder cut.
yeah. Yeah, I'll try not to say anymore. I guess all I will say is that I didn't know the movie was in 4:3, so it's like an older
Oh, okay.
television, you know. So it's normal. It's not something wrong with your TV.
Okay.
You have black
Good to
bars
know.
on the left, right? And then it very nicely puts separates the movie into parts. It literally has a screen that says
Mm,
part three. So if you don't
okay.
want to watch it all at once and being really tired, I wouldn't try to. Watching
Sure.
it one part at a time, very
Sure.
nice.
Okay.
So
That for some reason, I don't know why, but that reminds me immediately of when Titanic came out on VHS.
oh
And
yeah,
and yes, I'm dating
two
myself and
VHSs.
you a little bit. But you remember like when it was two VHS tapes and like
Yeah,
the screen came up at the end of the first half and it was like the end of part 1, and and then like you put in like the second videotape and it would like, it had that like title card that it was like part 2. I don't know why that's like like such a vivid memory for me,
hmm.
because I think Titanic was just like one of the few films that, needed to be two VHS tapes
Yep,
long. So it was just like such a big deal to like switch over the videotape. So,
yep, yeah. I mean, I think Dances with Wolves,
yeah,
was-
yep.
and now there's a few
Yeah,
epics.
that's
So,
right. Yep. And then
um,
there was always the like, were you going to stop at that part, or were you going to like keep watching Titanic in particular? I think because obviously like the second tape was, the sinking. So it's like,
yeah.
do you, do you stop? And it's just like, oh,
Oh,
like,
it's kind of happy,
right.
romance,
Right. They end by just
make
being
up
like,
our
"Oh
own.
no, like
Yeah.
the ship is gonna sink," and then you didn't really have to watch it if you didn't want to. Like you could just be like, "Oh, well, I know
See,
how it ends."
that's the little character moment as a writer you take note of right there. You're like,
Yep.
okay, so in a story, I have a family that grew up, and for whatever reason, they had a VHS of Titanic and they lost the second one or they
Oh
broke it.
no.
And so for years, they've never seen how Titanic ends. Maybe
Oh
this
my
is a
god.
family that it also doesn't know the history of it. So they're like, they're from a different country or something like that. And so they always watch the first part and then make up what happened as a family, what happened in
Right.
the next part. So they'd
Right.
watch it and then they would tell the story as it goes. And then tragically, someday they get to see the rest of it.
Just not
And
at
they're,
all how they
and
imagine.
they're, yes. And it doesn't have to be, it's just a little piece that adds a like flavor to someone.
Yep.
Yep.
Little
All
like
right. So,
three-dimensional depth. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you could, yeah. I mean, I remember the tape ends with them being like, "Oh, we're gonna sink, and now we're gonna get all the headlines." But I mean, you could make up a story where it's like, "No, just kidding," like, you know, or like
It was
everybody
a goodness thing,
lived,
but they
or
prepared,
yeah,
we'll fix it.
right, right. Somebody in the 11th hour was able to, seal the hull, or there's like rescue boats. They
Yep.
came. I don't know.
It can be the loss of innocence kind of thing where the
Right.
parents know what's going on, but they make up the rest of the story for the kids and they like hail the rest enough of the water out of the ship, and it's all fine then.
Oh man.
And then the kids realize they've been lied to for years.
Right. So much worse than
It's not
lying
that.
about like Santa. He lied
Yeah.
about how the Titanic really ended.
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So we got parts. Alan was saying that it's not fully shot in 4:3. They cropped some or
Oh,
many shots for the Snyder Cut. The
okay.
I heard the idea. The reason it's 4:3 is because he wanted the whole thing to be in IMAX.
Mm,
So he wanted
sure.
it to, when you have the giant like kind of square image, then you'd have that, and the idea that comic books are taller, and very
Oh, yeah.
often you get the hero shots of whoever. You get these low angles. It's emphasizing the height. And well, obviously they weren't going to do a movie for your phone that it's tall.
Hmm.
So it's best we get in IMAX, and that kind of thing. So
That makes
yeah,
sense.
yep.
It's kind of a cool style
Um,
choice.
yeah. In other like I guess comic book related things before we get to more comic book related things. I've been reading Justice League Dark. So I
Okay.
started this a while ago or whatever, but basically there's I think it started in 2018, this version of it. And I've read the first two graphic novels and I'm on the third one. I kind of took like a little break then and went and read Wonder Woman and the Witching Hour, which takes
Mm,
place kind of in between them some.
sure.
And it's so far it's been a very consistent good book. It's got Wonder Woman and Zatanna and John Constantine and Detective Chimp and Swamp Thing and Dead Man, and it's been sufficiently creepy. The art has been consistent.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I've pretty much liked everything about it. So the
Excellent.
screens up now are from the first graphic novel. Um, and yeah, I'm just like right in the middle of three now. So I'll probably give everybody my like final thoughts whenever this story arc wraps up.
Okay.
I suppose. So I don't know how long it goes or if it's still going or anything like that. But yeah, super fun. So
Nice.
um and then I guess one other thing, it's not pop culture related. I've been working on making more and more bread. So
That's,
I
I
just
mean, it's kind of pop culture related in terms of it's very like pandemic related. Do you know what I
sure.
mean? Like
Okay.
it's like such a pastime of the pandemic that I feel like it's almost a pop culture reference now, like baking bread during
Yeah.
COVID. So
So
you're fitting right
for
in.
Easter, I was gonna make this bread, this kind of a traditional French bread,
Looks
for
good.
Ashley's parents and stuff. This one, so actually, this bread requires you to make a starter,
Mm, yeah.
with yeast, flour, and water. And so I made one, and I wasn't sure if the starter had risen enough, so I made another one quick. Well, I used that second one to make the actual loaf of bread, but I had this first one left. And I thought, well, maybe it's fine. So I just kind of like just experimented with. So this is the total experiment. I took the
Okay.
starter and then I just threw like an egg and some milk and sugar and vanilla and instant coffee and a little butter and like kind of got it to the consistency I wanted,
Okay.
and mixed it with the starter and baked it. So this is the smaller loaf. It's not an actual any sort of bread, but it kind of tastes like Japanese milk, like a Japanese milk bun, like milk bread.
Okay.
And this is the actual bread I was
That
making.
looks cool.
Yeah, and so you're supposed to use orange blossom water for it, which I
Uh-huh.
did not have. So I guess you could use lemon extract in place, which I did.
Okay.
But yeah, it turned out really well. I'm sure a bread expert would dock me for something, but it tasted good. So,
I was gonna say we're
so
not I'm not Paul Hollywood from Great British Baking Show, so I'm no bread expert, but having watched the entirety of that show, this looks pretty quality. I mean,
nice.
you
Yeah.
know, he's got a good rise on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna. So I made a couple sweeter breads. I forgot what this holiday I made some other breads too, or whatever. One other one, I guess, and like a pizza dough. But I'm gonna try to do sourdough next, probably. So
nice.
yeah, this week. Yeah.
That I think has been everybody's go-to during COVID is sourdough.
Oh yeah,
That's what I feel like everybody has baked
I see.
or like
Well, then I
made
should be.
sourdough starter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, the ingredients are incredibly simple. I think it
right.
literally just comes from leaving your starter longer than normal to develop
Right.
an extra bitter flavor. So,
Exactly.
but man, if everybody's done it, I don't want to do the same thing.
Be different,
I want to
John.
do something else. Yeah, this was like I don't know how to say it in French. Pain de Roman's.
Okay.
I guess it's a traditional French bread that's made. I mean,
For
they
Easter or
adapted it from someplace else, but yeah, they would often have it on Easter. So,
okay, cool.
yep. That's
Very
that.
fun.
That's my life. It's been good, less stressful than yours. I don't know that. But yeah.
Well, I
And
mean, other than, trying to keep a tiny human alive, my
mhm,
life is stress-free, but unfortunately, it's kind of a 24-hour job for now.
yep, yep,
Especially because she's not talking and can't tell me what she needs. So it's a lot of
right,
guesswork.
yep, yep. Um, are you gonna teach like multiple languages at once, kind of thing, or like early on? Have you
Ooh,
thought about?
I have thought about that. I kind of want to try because I have so much German family and like family that
Mhm,
lives in Germany. And my aunt, my dad, my grandparents are all fluent in German. And I mean,
mhm,
I understand it. I just have never like spoken it really. And
mhm.
I've tried throughout the years, like I've sort of like half gotten in and out of like different language programs and, done some like Rosetta Stone, but never really
Yep,
committed.
yep,
Um, so yeah, so I kind of want to do that. I kind of want to see if like, maybe I can learn along with her. So it would be
exactly.
really fun.
Say this would be the thing that would like keep you at it.
Right, exactly.
So I
So
do the same thing with Japanese, and like always drop off. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I very foolishly, in high school, I decided that everybody was pressuring me to take German because they were like, "Oh, you have German family, like take German, take German." And so I was just like being rebellious and stubborn and I was like, "No, I'm going to take Spanish." Because,
mm,
like so many people are,
yeah,
in this
right.
country speak Spanish. And it's not like it didn't help me, but I just haven't used it as much as I like, thought I was going to. So now at this point, I'm just kind of mad at myself that I didn't take German.
I don't think most of it is ultimately going to help you that much. It's just, I don't know. It's just more brain food.
Hmm.
It could come in handy. It's just
Yeah.
another like mental muscle to flex and stuff.
Hmm.
It's just overall good.
Yeah, and I mean, it did help. It's helped twice when I've gone abroad. In high school, we went to Italy, And Spanish is just so close to Italian that like most of the time you could just, substitute a few
Yep.
words and get the
Figure out
gist of what
nouns
people are,
anyways.
yeah, get the
Yeah.
gist of what people were saying and have some sort of like more rudimentary communication. And then a couple of years ago when my uncle got married, he went to Costa Rica and we all went, down for
Mm.
his wedding. And then that was actually really helpful.
Yep.
Thankfully I remembered enough of the basics
Yeah.
that I could get by and ask for things or order things or ask for directions and things like that. So that was actually pretty helpful. But
I think sometimes it's easy to underestimate what you've managed to retain because I do that a
yeah.
lot too. Like go to a Mexican restaurant or something, and oh, more things than I think make sense.
Yep.
Same with Japanese or whatever. Just like we're used to knowing what you know, and it's like, oh, it's not too much, and I'm not fluent by any means. So
Right,
then it's
right.
like feel down about it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you can surprise yourself though, especially when you like it. I always liked studying languages. So, it's not that surprising that I would retain more than I think I would because I genuinely enjoyed it and I wanted to learn. So,
yep. Oh my God, if I was totally fluent in something else, I would have like an entire city or something in my D&D campaign speak that
yeah,
language. And so all the NPCs and they would be like, just figure it out, players.
that's
They don't know
right.
your language.
That's
So,
right. The only other language, God, this is gonna out me, is so nerdy. The only other language that I like ever came close to like understanding slash kind of speaking was Elvish, like the
I
Tolkien
knew you were gonna
Elvish.
go there.
Yeah,
You just
yeah. The second I started off, it's pretty obvious if you know me.
Yeah, I never did that, but I did learn how to write like 1 to 10
Mm,
in a fictional language from the game of Riven, so the sequel to Mist.
sure, yeah,
Uh, I learned some like how to write my name and a few things like that. So don't worry,
sure.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
But
those things seem so cool. Like, it's kind of like almost like writing in code, especially because they're not like
yeah,
the traditional languages. So you feel cool when you know it and you're like, check this out.
yep, yep. Well, speaking of Icelandic, you know Icelandic, Alan? Is what you're telling me? Or you want to know Icelandic? Okay,
All
yep.
right.
That's hmm
Just showing off now.
yeah. Well, speaking of German, something the Germans are well known for is beer.
Mm,
Um,
indeed.
so we've got some beer holidays, huh?
Yes, two in a row. Yesterday it was New Beer's Eve, which I believe has to do with like a holiday that's like a taxation on. Yes. Oh no, the Cullen Harrison Act signed into law. Um, so there was in 1933 an act signed into law in the U.S. Um, and it was repealing prohibition. So that is now New Beer's Eve in the United
Interesting.
States. Um, is 1933. So that was the official end of
Okay.
prohibition, and I'm not sure why. Like, I think it's something to do with the language that was in this particular act, which is why we're celebrating beer in particular and not just like
Okay.
all liquors.
Okay.
But I'd have to go in
I was gonna
and
say I went to guess that's what the holiday's name is, marking it,
right.
marking the event. But
Yeah, I'm not sure why that in particular. Again, I'd probably have to read it a
yep,
little bit more closely, but yeah, so
no
that's
worries.
New Year's Eve, celebrating the end of Prohibition, and then today is National Beer Day.
Ooh, nice,
Woohoo! And then Friday is G&T Day, gin and tonic.
nice. Well, Alan's favorite on
Is that your
Friday.
favorite, Alan?
I mean, that's his go-to
That's one of
for
my
sure.
that's one of my go-tos as
Yeah,
well. It's I mean, gin and tonic is something I feel like you can trust a lot of bartenders to make Not always well, but at least it's, something solid that should be in everybody's repertoire. Can't really
Yeah.
mess it up too badly. It's kind of one of those easy things.
I'm going to sidetrack us again then when it comes to drinks, easy to make and some of that, because
Okay.
in Fort Myers, Florida, the cocktails, I mean, I guess that people are looking for fruity, tropical kind of drinks. So they indeed did have that.
Okay.
But like getting a good cocktail was
Hmm.
pretty difficult.
Okay.
And we keep finding that everything would be too sweet. Like just about everything. And like I know here and different places you can go and you can kind of tell when they're going to have good cocktails. You can just
Yeah.
see what's in them. And usually then, you can order one of their specialties and it's awesome. But yeah, really not very good. And we ate a lot. Ate a lot of great food,
Hmm.
but not a lot of great cocktails. And then I once asked for a Negroni, and the way I got it back and I drank it, and it's like, oh, that's extra bitter. That's strange, And it was in a Collins glass. It was tall. I'm like, that's a big Negroni. Like, what is
Right.
going on? Well, it turns out she heard me say she thought I heard said Campari,
Oh,
which is
okay.
part of Negroni, but I literally
Right.
had Campari on the rocks then.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's the deal. That's why it didn't hit me like a ton of bricks, and it was extra bitter, and it was in a
Uh-huh.
tall glass. So
So
yeah,
you clearly had a bartender or a waitress that did not know what was going on.
yeah. Well, I mean, it was loud
Because,
in there, but I don't know who orders a glass of Campari. I guess.
well, and I mean, I understand that, like, it's hard to hear sometimes, or like your brain just isn't quite with it, and you don't
Mhm.
hear something quite right, and you think, whatever. But Negroni and Campari don't exactly sound alike.
No, no.
Not close enough where I would have, thought that's a mistake to make.
She
Um,
could have doubled in and said, "What? What was that?" Or I want to
right.
make sure you said what.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just circle back and be like, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. I'm not sure I quite
Yep.
caught that. And there's other things that I would have like forgiven. Um, like if somebody said I want a whiskey 7 and you brought them like a whiskey sour, or like,
Sure.
somebody
Just get
said,
in your head the one way for sure.
right,
Yeah.
right. You know, or if they had said like, I want rum and coke and you brought rum and diet coke or something. There's
Yep.
things that, your brain just like doesn't translate, but that's
Yep.
an interesting
Yep.
drink order.
So that's that. Are you celebrating the holidays? It kind of looks like it to me.
I am. Now that I am able to, it's kind of good to be back. So I am celebrating the day that is today, National Beer Day. Got
Cheers.
got my pint right here. Cheers.
Clink.
And speaking of German, uh, this is what I'm drinking. Bitburger. Oops.
Nice.
Yep, there we go.
Um,
Bitburger. It's my German grandfather's favorite beer, so
nice.
raising a glass in his honor.
I should have grabbed a German beer too. Darn it. Not from Germany, but German style. So
That's right.
thanks.
Well, and how
Yeah.
did you know we were going to talk about Germany? But what do you got for
I
us?
I've got Pipeworks Brewing Blood of the Unicorn.
Mm. How is that blood of the unicorn? Is it magical?
It's pretty good. Yep. Good
What kind of
stuff.
brew is it? Oh, it's a red ale?
Red. Yep. But hoppy red ale. So
Okay. Well, that makes sense. If it's unicorn blood, got to be red.
that's right. Poor unicorns. We salute those that have lost their lives in the making of this beer. So Alan
Alan's
has Pink
Celebrating
Floyd Zombie
too.
Dust. Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, what a surprise! Like, if someone said like bet a million, I'll give you $1 million. We can guess what Alan's drinking. Which beer? It would be this, but I would actually put it on Pseudo-Sue. Like that would be the one
Oh,
I would
okay.
pick. But this would probably be my second choice if I was gonna try to win $1 million to guess what Alan's drinking. So.
I also would have said zombie dust. I would not have said pseudo sue. So you got me there.
All right. Okay. So that's what's been going on in our lives.
Right.
Now you know us better. If you didn't know us before, you can decide now. Are we boring people? Are we cool people? And then tune in accordingly. We've got a new not Netflix. I'm losing it. We've got a new Disney Plus show, a new Marvel Disney Plus show.
I'm the one who just had a kid. I'm the one who's supposed to be confused, John.
Yeah, I know. I just lack of transitioning thing here is just it's throwing me. So
well, it's because you have my nameplate today, so you're getting all of my tiredness and confusion.
Okay, yeah.
I'm transferring it to you. Have it.
Nice. So we'll be talking Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes 1 and 2. So spoilers are about to be on their way. I did want to open up with a little bit that I had learned about the Marvel television Disney Plus shows, their Disney Plus efforts, that it makes sense but bothers me nonetheless.
Okay.
It's that I guess Kevin Feige said that the shows are not required viewing. So basically the mainline cinema films are the ones that are kind of leaning on each other a lot, and a lot of big things can happen. Things that really change the universe, or a character dies or something tragic or whatever, something meaningful, basically. That stuff is going to be resolved for the films and not for the Disney Plus shows. And to me, that's a real bummer because, I kept waiting in WandaVision for more big things to happen. Ultimately, I was happy with how the show was, but I wanted I wanted Doctor Strange to pop in there, and I wanted to see more things that really, would drive us towards the Doctor Strange film and the other films. And now that I know this, we were never going to get that because they want to make sure that you can go from seeing Endgame to, Black Widow to whatever the next one, and you don't need to have consumed any of the other content. And I'm really bummed about this because I feel like it cheapens the value of the Disney Plus shows. They're filler,
I agree.
They're stuff that they give. It doesn't mean they can't be good shows, and they can add value to the rest of the universe. But they shouldn't be given this second-class citizen kind of treatment.
Yeah, so. I completely agree with you here. And I'm now curious to go look that up and read a little bit more about what exactly was said. But I mean, I feel like that's a mistake for a couple of different reasons. Number one, primarily monetarily, because you're not giving people a reason then to go feel like they need to have Disney Plus and need to see these shows, which, I mean, nobody ever really needs to. Everybody obviously has their own personal choices. But if you kind of get a pass from Kevin Feige saying oh no, you don't really need to see these shows, then they're going to be squandering a lot of potential viewership right there, for people who may have been on the fence, but been I just got to see what happens in WandaVision, or I have to see what happens between Falcon and Winter Soldier. So that seems like a mistake in that sense. It also seems like a mistake in not valuing the stories that you have to tell in this new medium and with these other characters that are going to be moving forward and frontlining your next phase of the Marvel movies. You know what I mean? These are the people who are sticking around to go into this next phase. Why wouldn't you want people to become more invested in their characters and become more invested in their stories, and then therefore when the movies come out really care what happens? Because you're now taking a gamble that people who haven't seen WandaVision are going to care that Scarlet Witch is in the second Doctor Strange, and going to be a big part of it, from what I understand.
Yep.
So I'm not understanding where this statement came from, and I'm really disappointed to hear that as well, because, like you said, it
And
does sort of cheapen the experience for us, for those of us who are tuning in and excited about these shows. Like, I was really, really excited about WandaVision, and I still am, because I still think there were some big moments, especially, I mean, spoiler alert for our previous show where we discussed this, but for White Vision, who came in, that's
yep.
kind of a big moment to just now say, like, doesn't really mean anything, or we're not going to do anything with.
Yep. And like there's a line here, because of course each film needs to each thing needs to be able to stand on their own,
Yeah.
you know. But that doesn't mean, I mean, movies handle this all the time in like recaps or something like that,
Hmm.
flashbacks or of large scale things that happen.
Right.
And it's kind of one of the amazing things that Marvel has going for them, is that they largely do have a fan base that will see each thing and really
Yes.
keep up,
Yep.
and especially when we've had less like well marketed mainstream, you know, AAA films or whatever,
Hmm.
um, people are ready for it and watching it. And to me, it seems short sighted that they have to know that in the future, all of their stuff is going to come to Disney Plus
Yep.
day and date. Like that is their future
Yep.
of consuming all of their content. So eventually, it will all be the same. Will be put on the same platform.
Hmm.
So why not get ahead? Why not admit that now and go that direction?
Right.
Um,
Right. All of their previously released, Marvel entertainment is already there.
yep,
So, I mean, what really is the difference then? Like,
yep,
what's the point in, like I said, devaluing the show that you're making on this platform, and that could potentially draw in viewership, and draw not only for Disney Plus but for theatrical releases,
yep,
because, I mean, people should care. I mean,
yep,
if Sam, kind of pre-spoiler alert, I guess now, if Sam Falcon is really going to be the next Captain America, TBD, then why in the world wouldn't you want to watch that journey? And why wouldn't you want, more of your viewers to watch that
right.
journey, if that's indeed what's going to be happening in Falcon and Winter Soldier? So,
Well, and you can see how they have that set up. So at the end of Endgame, Steve Rogers is offering him the shield.
hmm.
So then presumably he will become Captain America at the end of this
Hmm.
series. And then by the next time we see him, he'll be Captain America. So none of this actually mattered other than to see the journey,
Right.
because to the audience that didn't see the show, oh, well, Steve Rogers offered him the shield. Clearly he
Right.
said yes, case closed.
Right. But for those of us who are watching, now we're getting like the nuance
It,
of,
yeah.
his
Yeah.
journey
So
there.
that's the right word for it. These shows are going to offer nuance. They're going to offer
Hmm.
backstory. They're going to, and again, they can be entertaining that way. I just I wish that there was always the potential that something crazy is going to happen, you know,
Yes.
and to not have that sad. And I think where I heard this, I wrote this in the thing a while ago, was
Sure.
from Grace of Beyond the Trailer, I believe
Oh,
is
okay.
who I'd heard that from.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd like to look up more too, like what specifically. And I think, regardless, they're going to change stance. I think that,
I think they have
when
to.
they're inevitably forced to um, put what is it, Scarlet Witch, not Scarlet
Mm.
Witch, the Black Widow,
Oh,
and
yeah.
eventually inevitably put Black Widow and release it and finally and put it on a streaming service. And I think that as we move forward, they're gonna change their tune. But
Yeah, I hope
it just
so.
explains some stuff for WandaVision for me, I guess. So
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of explain perhaps why, um, Quicksilver wasn't Quicksilver. Our
yep,
whole, like, Pietro, fake
yep,
Pietro, thoughts. That would be why, it never amounted to anything, because an X-Men crossover would have been way too big
Yep.
then. If this show,
Exactly.
if this is their thinking, and that the shows, can't do anything big because we can't have anybody miss anything big that's not in a movie, then this would explain it. This is
Yep.
exactly why. Um, doesn't lessen my disappointment
Right.
any, because I still think it's wrong on both levels that they didn't do this, like, big crossover, didn't take that opportunity. And then it also doesn't lessen my disappointment that this is their approach to it. Like, we're going to make we're going to make a quality product, because I think WandaVision was a quality product, but we're going to be very careful and sort of make like this lighter, fluffier, less necessary version of itself, and not let it reach its full potential because we can't do anything big. And so
Yep.
you've really kind of limited yourself creatively.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was my little piece there, and but now we can like readjust our expectations going forward.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it kind of actually makes me wonder, or makes me think about, some of my thoughts on these first two episodes of, the show, and kind of makes me wonder if, like, this isn't an explanation for, I felt like, some of the unevenness of the story, some of the character flip-flops that I felt were going on, especially in the second episode. I didn't really feel that, um, either Sam or Bucky were written very, um,
Confidently.
yeah, not very strongly, not very confidently. They kind of, their scenes sometimes sort of felt patched together, and that they flip-flop stances from one scene to another, especially regarding, spoiler alert, this new Captain America.
Mhm.
One second they were all like hardline, like, how dare you, Steve Rogers is Captain America and we can't do anything, and we don't want to talk to you. And then the next scene they'd be like, oh, let's like work together, maybe, I don't know, maybe not, oh, maybe let's do it, let's share information, let's not. Like, I really had a hard time with the second episode, and I felt like the writing was very uneven.
It's
But
so yeah, we can get into it. Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 1 and
yeah.
episode 2, kind of so we get the setup of the idea that Sam Falcon is working kind of as a government agent. He
Hmm.
is making good use of his wingsuit, and we get a pretty big action sequence to begin with,
Hmm.
and we get introduced to this idea of a kind of a new group that's sort of the threat of the show at this
Hmm.
point. What was their name again? The
Flag
one,
Smashers.
yes, Flag Smashers. Yep, that's right.
Terrible
And
name.
yeah, it's not a very catchy name. I like the logo. It's a nice logo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I did too.
and
I thought
the
that was well thought
mantra.
out.
Yeah, like it feels like a thing. I just Flag Smash is a little I don't know, but
It's a little childish. It's like a little rudimentary. It doesn't really strike
sure,
strike fear or seem like a good organization. It almost sounds like I don't know, like a thing you would name your flag football team or something, like an elementary gym class. We're the Flag Smashers. Like,
sure.
no.
Yeah, it's
But
a Mario speed run team.
yeah.
All right, let's jump up and get the flag first. Um, so I should have looked at the directors between episode 1 and 2, because it must be a different director. Because um, I felt like I, for sure, in the first episode, enjoyed some of the way it was shot.
Hmm.
I liked there was this window shot that I noted that was really nice. I think it was raining by the restaurant.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure.
there was a Bucky in therapy, and sort
Hmm.
of it was like mostly his head and then a lot of head space, and was kind of like giving an idea of drowning. They're
Oh
both
yeah.
directed by the same person, says Alan. Carrie Skogland.
Scotland. Scotland.
Scotland, yeah. which
Okay.
is so surprising to me because episode 2 seemed pretty disjointed, and
Yes.
yeah, I don't know how you want to tackle these. I guess um in the first episode I still liked um the like the relationships that Bucky had and
Mm,
seeing why he was forming
yeah.
those and stuff. His relationship with the old guy and stuff that had some weight to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
what other kinds of thoughts did you have on episode 1 and stuff?
Yeah, I really like you. I really enjoyed episode 1. I thought it was well put together. It was a good introduction. Um, we got to see both the separate lives of Bucky and Sam, and I thought those were nice grounding features of the episode. We saw Sam and his ground support, who is like the kind of young naive soldier who just wants to help and get in there and get in on the action. I kind of thought for maybe half a second he was going to be part of this like flag smashers group, because
Sure.
that's always like a surprise twist, like
Yep.
somebody's close friend is like gets seduced into this stuff, but he seems on the up and up for now. um and he's going to be kind of comic relief, I think. And so their relationship was kind of fun to see on the work side. And then of course we got Sam's sister and his two nephews, so we got some of his home life, his home struggles, which were a little unbelievable. um because he had that whole like, I'm going back down to you know my family home and my family business, and my business is struggling. Somehow he couldn't get a bank loan, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like that's one of the most unbelievable parts,
Yeah.
in a show that had like people flying around like, little flying squirrels in their wingsuits and, zipping in
Yeah.
and out of canyons and stuff. I found the denial of a bank loan much more ridiculous, but I
It's
maybe
yeah.
nitpicky, but you know,
But it's so absurd though.
it is so
Because I
absurd.
mean, all you have to do is think about for a little bit. And if this bank didn't give you a loan, like I mean, like any other bank would take you. Oh,
Yeah,
superhero extraordinaire, you want to be part of our bank? Absolutely. Would you like to take
exactly.
a photo with us shaking hands? Can we put a plaque of your face on the wall? Are you kidding
Exactly.
me? Is so absurd. I
Yes.
just like I mean, I like that's not to say like that they can't have a thing where they can't play an element where ever just because you're a superhero that just the state is just treating you well and like
Right.
everything is easy or something like that.
Right.
But this is not an example to use here that made any
Exactly.
sense. In fact, it would make more sense for him to come in and like be going to take care of all this stuff very easily and obviously, and his sister not being for that, like wanting to
Yes.
do it on her own, like you left us, you abandoned us here. I'm going to make this work on my own, or that's it, or I'm
Right.
shutting down, like you dropped out a long time ago. I
Right.
don't want your help here, like a pride element or something that would
Right.
make more sense.
Right. That's a logical conflict right there.
Mhm.
And it's one the show kind of starts to set up and then immediately backs down from, and then
Exactly.
presents like
Yep.
this other issue that's standing in the way. Um, so yeah, so that was a really, really weird part. Um, but I mean, on the whole, like I said, I did enjoy overall like learning more about their backstories, kind of learning more about where Sam is coming from in his personal life. And then we got Bucky's side of it too. Like you had mentioned, obviously Bucky's in therapy, which we learn is court mandated as part of his pardon. Um,
Yep.
he doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, but we do learn that Sam has been reaching out to him. He's kind of um oh, are you responding to Alan?
Yeah.
The Human Torch
Yeah.
was denied a bank. That's one of Ron Burgundy's warm ups in Anchorman. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's funny. I
Um. Sorry, Chris loves that movie so much. I could probably quote you like literally everything from it. And that's one of his warm-ups when he's preparing to go on camera. So,
Nice.
um, but yeah, so we learn that, Bucky is kind of floating around friendless. He's going to therapy because he's having all of these nightmares about the things that he's done in the past as the Winter Soldier. He's trying to make amends for those things, you know, kind of unevenly. Some of it's working out, some of it's not, you know. So he's
Yeah.
kind of having his own struggles. And I found episode 1 actually, I think, to be smoother because Bucky and Sam were separate and they were doing their own things that
Yeah.
made sense to me. And then I felt like in episode 2, they were very unorganically thrown together and
Yes.
just sort of like had to learn how to deal with each other because they were going to go do stuff together. But it really didn't make any sense why.
Yeah.
In the first one, in the first episode, we watched Sam give up the shield, and I remember thinking like, this is a mistake. And I get that Bucky would also think it's a mistake, especially, both because any decision that Steve Rogers made, Bucky would feel was right.
Right.
Um and then also because by giving up the shield, you allow for the potential of somebody else to take it, which the government does and decides to create this like new Captain America, which
Yeah.
is so ridiculous. Like, it's so implausible that
But
anyone would care about this new Captain America.
yeah.
Like, I
But it
get
would
why the
happen,
government would
right?
do it. Oh, I totally,
Yeah.
totally, I agree with you. The government would totally do this. They would totally think it's a great idea. They're very much creating a role that they want, similar to when Captain America was first created, like largely symbolic, like wave at the people, go on Good Morning America, sell war bonds, or, do whatever
So
the equivalent is in this day and age of that. Totally get it. Yeah.
tell me.
High five people at football games and whatnot.
Mhm.
But I don't think that they were really prepared for where this guy is going to take Captain America, much like they weren't prepared for with Steve Rogers.
So tell me how, because there's only a few Marvel movies I haven't seen, and one of them is
Mm-hmm.
actually the first Captain America.
Hmm.
So in the
Really? Okay.
Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand that Steve Rogers, skinny dweeb, wants to be useful in the military. He
Yes.
can't hack it.
Yep.
He agrees to be part of the super soldier program, gets the
Mm-hmm.
super soldier serum. Um, and there we have buff guy, and he can be in the military now.
Yes.
How does the suit and the actual like I am Captain America, how does that come to be? Is that like an internal thing? Is that thrust upon him? Whose
Yes.
idea is that? What role does he, like, how does that go?
Yeah, so it starts out that he's obviously given the super soldier serum, and he thinks like, boy, now I have the chance to actually do things, go on missions. And that's what Abraham Erskine, or Erskine, I can't remember how you pronounce his name. That's his intent as well in creating the serum and giving it to Steve, who he sees as this like really selfless guy. So that's their idea. But then like military higher ups, basically like the military brass bureaucrats are like,
Mhm.
no, we want you to be a symbol.
Our
We
front man.
want our front man. We've designed this suit. You're going to have the shield, but it's not like his vibranium shield. It's, just like a toy.
Yep.
It's like a little piece of plastic kind of thing. And they have him go out and perform in the USO and, buy war bonds, support the war effort. And he like goes out and it goes into like these little theatrical scenes where he like punches out the Nazis and, fights for America and all the values of America. But it's like this total pageantry, you know.
Right.
Like he comes to the US and he's at Radio City Hall and he's got the Rockettes behind him, and you know, it's this whole sense of showmanship, and he
Yep.
actually gets to do nothing. So that's kind of what they're playing off of here in creating new
Right.
Captain America. He's not doing anything. He's going on Good Morning America. Oh yeah, nice shot, Alan. Um So you can see like Captain America here originally doesn't even have like his real shield, the one
Yeah.
that he ends up with, the iconic one. You can see his gloves are like this latexy, sad rubber. He's got like the sad rubber ears and all of that stuff. So it's a throwback for certain, but
Yeah.
it's there's nothing useful about this suit.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what they're kind of doing here with the new Captain
Okay.
America. And then somehow in the second episode, this new Captain America is like coming on missions and kind of being like a giant asshole and being like, hey, you know, I'm going to do some shit, stay out of my way, like
Yep.
which he clearly has no position to be doing because he hasn't taken any sort of like super soldier serum. He's just like regular Joe kind of getting in there, and
Yep.
I have no idea how he thinks he's going to hang with anybody from the Avengers, but he does.
Well, I mean, it like in fairness, they add a lot of they have a lot of side characters that, aren't particularly superhuman, and they all play a
Mm.
role. So I think that, they can always make someone play a role properly. You just,
Yeah.
going to go toe to toe in the same way that others are. Um, but I
Yeah,
guess
obviously like
it is,
Sam isn't anybody who's like,
yeah.
like he's not Hulk smashing anybody or anything, but he's got his own set of like, I've got the Falcon wings, I've got Red Wing. Well, he used to have Red Wing.
Yep.
He had things to contribute.
Yep. I mean, I guess it's kind of a unique thing about Captain America then in the MCU
Hmm.
is that, if you look at Hulk or Iron Man or Thor, you know, Iron Man is a billionaire that develops his own crazy weaponry and suit.
Hmm.
Thor is literally like a god or demigod.
Hmm.
Um, i- Captain America then is a mascot, you
Hmm.
know, and I think to me in the films he obviously becomes to a point where he transcends that. You don't think of that. And he defies orders and stuff, and that's kind of I made a comment somewhere about that, like how this Captain America is seeing this as a job. Like, here's
Hmm.
the job I have. I am now filling the role of Captain America, and I'm basically a soldier still, but now I
Hmm.
get more face time with the media, and I
Yeah.
represent something more. Whereas um, other heroes are going to be like, I do what my conscience tells me to do. Like,
Right.
I know I have my understanding of right and wrong, and I will enforce those things. And Captain America is kind of the exemplary standard of that, or
Hmm.
it's supposed to be, Um, and so it's it's weird. I don't like the idea of him being replaced, but I think for the universe, it makes complete sense that he would be. And that's where, yeah, if he's chosen a successor, knowing that it's going to happen, and he
Hmm.
chooses Sam, it is definitely a mistake for him to not take the role. But at the same
Right.
time, you think, well, like he did not take super soldier serum, you
Hmm.
know. Now he wouldn't be any, it'd be the same situation as as new guy here, but you know,
Right. Yeah, and I get that Sam would have reservations. I mean, it's imposter syndrome. Like you don't feel worthy of stepping into the
oh
mantle.
yeah,
You think like, boy, there must be a mistake. Like I'm not, who am I to step in this role? I would totally and completely understand all of Sam's reservations there. And I also follow why Bucky has a hard time with that because he thinks, boy, if Sam thinks Steve made a mistake in giving him the mantle of Captain America, like what else could Steve have made a mistake
yeah,
about? Obviously, me. He's got his own insecurities that are at play here. And I that was probably for me one of the realest moments of this show and one of the
sure,
realest moments of Sam and Bucky's like interactions. Um, and unfortunately, that was overshadowed by a lot of clunkiness in other areas in trying to make them this like odd couple, this like offbeat buddy cop,
yeah,
team that um really, I didn't feel that chemistry flowing in either of the episodes, which I think again is why I liked episode 1 more, where they were separate and their lives made more sense to me rather than episode 2 having them thrown together.
I really like. I felt a chemistry in like a particular a starting scene when they first got together in episode 2, but it kind of quickly fell apart in the way it
Yeah.
was done, and that it felt really forced because
Yeah,
it,
that
it gave us
therapy scene was rough.
yeah, it gave us tonal problems of the show because
Mhm.
in the first one, largely it felt pretty serious
Yep.
and relatively down to earth. And they were both, I mean, the things they were dealing with, whether it's family issues or, the issues of my past when I was,
Right.
you know,
Winter Soldier,
under the
yeah.
control. Yeah, yeah. It's tough things to deal with. And then they get together and then they start like fight. It's like you say, buddy cop, but they're in that fighting stage to begin with, where they don't want to
Mhm.
be with each other. It's Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
You don't want they don't want to be partners at first, kind of thing, and then they eventually will be. But it was trying to add a comedy that didn't fit with the
Mhm.
show.
I agree.
Um, like how many times they're counting, how many people are there in the warehouse or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of like separately within the tonal space of a lot of other Marvel movies that could make sense, but what they had given us thus far, it didn't.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, tonal shifts, feeling weird, and then I just felt, yeah, you said it too. It was just disjointed the way that episode 2 flowed from one point to the next.
Mhm.
Um, and things that didn't really make sense. Like in episode 1, we had the loan that didn't make sense.
Mhm.
Okay, the kind of the one thing, and then in episode 2, we had one was the kind of jumping around to different places. Like Bucky is, I'm going to forcibly bring myself with you on
Yeah.
this thing for, well, I don't know, just so I get a chance to yell at you more. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
cry, like I
No
really do
apparent
want to have
reason.
someone hang with. Yeah,
Yeah.
but otherwise we don't understand that. Um, then bringing Sam to this other guy that had been given the super soldier serum
Isaiah,
for
yeah.
I'm not sure what reason. Like they literally went there. He yelled at them for a moment and they left.
Yes.
Why couldn't have Bucky said that it was like said, hey, there's this other guy, other
Right.
people have been given the superhero super soldier serum.
Right.
And it just said that, like he
Yeah. It was a
no reason he
completely
went.
unnecessary detour.
Yeah, like
And
entire trip.
yeah, or even had Bucky said, um, listen, there's this other guy that I know I met back in this time period, super soldier serum has been given to more people than you realize, here's an
Yep.
example. And then Sam had said, like, oh, like show me. Even that like 2 second
Right.
lead up would have been more convincing than just being like, there's something you have to see, and then we're gonna go to this
Yeah.
house. I'm going to show you this guy. He's going to yell at us and we're going to leave. And then we're not even going to talk about it. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like there
Right.
wasn't even like well, here was the point of that. Here's you know, our takeaway from going to visit him. There was
Yeah.
nothing. It was just like shoehorned scene and almost like a weird reason for them to like be in this neighborhood, get stopped by the cops. Bucky's arrested
Out of
because
nowhere. But that was a weird scene.
Yeah,
Uh,
because sure, because now like that gives us a reason to go into our court mandated therapy and to drag Sam along into that, who also really didn't need to be in the therapy scene.
right.
There was nothing bringing him there. There was nothing
Yep.
keeping him in therapy the way that there wasn't anything keeping Bucky in the plane to go on this mission. They're
Well, the
just not
therapist
coming
act.
in they're just not coming up with like really compelling reasons to bring them together in these moments.
Yep. I mean, the therapist acted as if she had some authority because it's like this is not a
Right.
request, you know. And I was like, oh,
But
is she like a higher up somehow? Like she can order these two around some way or whatever. But then Sam's just like, no, I'm done. I don't have time for this, and walks out.
Right. And
So it
she's
is
just like,
just
cool,
his
thanks,
therapist
fun.
that is like, yeah. And like, were we supposed to have fun with that therapy scene, or was it supposed to be serious? And I understand you can have those switches, like you can have those moments where something is fun and then you get the heart of it.
Hmm.
It just wasn't coming off. It's
Right.
like, I don't know if they're telling them to ad lib, like, hey, you guys, because they get along very well in real life.
Yeah.
Watch their interviews together. They have great banter, and it's good, but it's not translating. And I feel like they're trying to take that real life thing and put
Hmm.
it in here, maybe, or something. I don't know.
I agree. Because and I think the problem is the tone shifts too quickly. It doesn't feel organic. Like you
Mhm.
said, there's certainly, possibility for, the funny moments juxtaposed with the more serious ones. And the therapy scene could have been a really great example of that. Like they're little like, oh, we're gonna like shift at each other and like look at each other, and now our knees are together, and that was funny. Like yeah, like this whole like getting into position where they're like getting intimate or whatever, and they're supposed to be getting real with each other. That was funny, but then you need a bit more of a gradual shift into getting real. And it felt like the therapist, after doing this, and they're like having a staring contest and they're being childish and it's funny, she
Yep.
asks one question, one very like innocuous, non-leading question, and Bucky just like bursts out with all of this personal information. She's just, like, why are you so upset at Sam? And he's like, because if, he's wrong, if Steve Rogers was wrong about Sam being Captain America, he's wrong about me, and all of this like big revealing stuff. And it's like, wow, that's too quick. Like, I need you to be, maybe more resistant to this, what's happening right now. I need you to, maybe deflect a little bit more, you know,
Mhm.
have a couple extra beats in there before we get to something so explosively real that it makes, Sam walk out of the session.
Yep.
When 2 seconds earlier, like they were literally having a staring contest with each other
Yep.
and acting like little children.
Like an angry one.
Yeah.
They're still having, like I say, that thing where it's like they want to joke around, but they're mad at each. They've got to be mad at each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I it the episode 2 or episode 1 was a decent enough base for me,
Hmm.
and then episode 2 fell all over the place.
Yes.
Um, so I don't know. What do you think of like the? Or you were sorry, you were gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say that I felt myself in episode 2 thinking about WandaVision, and thinking about how, even though, in the first couple episodes, really substantial things weren't happening, and we were all kind of confused by the direction that the show was going, I was still really engaged. Like everything within the episode made sense as you
Yeah.
watched it, and things flowed very naturally, and everybody was kind of, holding up their end, and there were no like big gaps or shifts or whatever, even though, obviously we were all in the dark as to what this whole like sitcom routine was really about.
Yep.
Everything fit. And I felt myself in episode 2, my mind was kind of wandering into the fact of like, I don't know who's doing the writing for this, if it's the same team, but they're not making things fit the way that, we just saw in WandaVision.
Yep. You don't think about it normally, I guess, but the way that the way that they handled tonal shifts in WandaVision made perfect sense, because
Mhm.
you'd have the whole episode, so it's set up as like 50s sitcom or whatever, and so it's
Mhm.
very, it's the canned audience laughter. It's the whole episode kind of goes with that,
Mhm.
and then it makes the moments that um, are out of place or serious really stand out.
Yes.
And yeah, those moments fit, like when they're at when they're at dinner at the first one or whatever, and they just like the guy's choking, or whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden things get serious.
Right. Things
Makes
fall
sense.
apart. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's not throughout the entire episode or whatever, but it just like with those little bullet points that, that show managed to keep us intrigued,
Yes.
it pulled us along with the mystery or whatever. Like, I'm surprised I guess they don't have many episodes to deal with in this. So they do have to move some of the things fast. Like I thought we could have been more, a little more mystified at first by this group, for a little longer or something. But like all of a sudden we saw them right away,
Yeah.
like this attack, and they have superpowers and stuff like that. But
yeah. And even yeah, like thinking about, what's clearly going to be our adversary in this show, the Flag Smashers. Even seeing like their whole like bank robbery, setup, that felt like, okay, so we're gonna get a little peek at what they can do and how organized this group is, and that's interesting. But then, yeah, like you said, we kind of delved right into like, now we're gonna like get into character development, and we're suddenly gonna be thrust into like, here's the leader of the Flag Smashers, and here's how she's reacting to like her lieutenants, and things like that. That did feel really sudden. Especially that the only real interactions we'd gotten before were just like this like cut scene of of demonstrating what they're capable of, and their interactions with Torres. I think that's his name, Sam's ground crew guy.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it did feel really sudden, and like we're just like making all of these jumps in episode 2 that are maybe going to be our jumping off points for the later episodes. But in this one, yeah, just feels too much too soon.
And the guy that stayed behind from the Flag Smashers,
Yeah.
did he have to die? Like, he really didn't slow him down at all. Like, you could have just pushed over that telephone pole and then got out of there.
Right.
Because all you did is push down the pole, then stand there and run at them for 3 seconds as they gunned you down.
Right.
Like, that seemed like a meaningless death there.
Right. But it's going to be meaningful in the sense of like, we're going to like, our leader's going to avenge it now, or like it's a human moment and we care for each other.
Yeah.
I had the sense that it was supposed to be meaningful, but like you said, I didn't feel it was very necessary.
Yeah. It just like, oh, I'm going to run at them knowing they're going to shoot me down.
Yeah.
Like, poor guy making this sacrifice that I didn't feel anything about.
Yeah.
So. But
yeah, on the whole, it sounds like we both kind of, are struggling with the unevenness of this show,
Yep.
and I hope that it gets better, because we, like you said, we have 6 episodes. And if we're having this many problems in the second episode, that's a third of the show already gone.
Yep.
And you don't really have a whole lot left to fix it if this is, if this is like the direction we're going, and if this is going to be like part of the next couple of episodes, this show is really going to struggle.
Maybe they're going to solidify like a real reason that they're together better, and they're going to get along.
They need to.
Things are going to flow more smoothly. But yeah, I think that they needed some time to reconsider why these two would be involved with one another. Other than kind of on a very wide view makes sense, because they're both so close to Steve.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that they'd be involved there. But then why do they continue to be involved together, and why does that have to be a thing? So
yeah, I think
it would have made more sense maybe that if Bucky is trying to right the wrongs of his past, that if Sam and he gets into trouble doing that and uncovers this stuff, that Sam is also he's been tracking himself, so this organization or whatever. And so they kind of they're working at the same enemy group here. So Flag Smashers, whatever. So they're both managed to get involved in this. And now it's makes sense for them to work together to bring them down versus versus apart.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. I think they really could have taken some time and figured out why these two were going to be brought together in a much more organic way. Because there were some continuity things that just didn't quite make sense in terms of, when Bucky's in therapy, um, his therapist is like, "Hey, I see that Sam's been reaching out to you." Well, these are two people who don't seem like Sam's been reaching out. You know what I mean? When they first
right.
interact with each other, Sam gives no indication like, "Thanks for responding to all of my text messages," or, like, "Oh, good to see you. Glad to see you're still alive. You remember that, thing I talked about," or whatever. Like there's almost no connection with each other. It's like they've just like, just seen each other for the first time.
Well, I think it
Um,
was a mishandling of how Bucky would react
I
because
agree.
Sam says like, good to see you too, or something like that. Because Bucky comes in and it goes right at him,
Right.
and I feel like that's. I mean, I don't know. I guess, however they view the character, but it seemed like starting themselves off on the wrong foot. You
Right.
know, it would make more sense that he would come in and be disappointed, express disappointment with Sam or whatever, you
Mhm.
know, but also understand like the hard decision he's had to make, or,
Mhm.
whatever decision, instead of like coming in hot, you
Yep.
know. And
Yep.
so it started them up right away as like in a confrontational manner, and really didn't
Mhm.
feel like there was a friendship there.
Right, which you would think there would be. I
Hmm.
mean, they've worked together enough. We've seen them in the main movies work together.
Yeah.
So there's almost a sense of like having no past. Their first interaction is
Yeah.
almost a sense of having no past, which we know that they do. And then I think the other odd part for me was, this mission that Bucky basically invites himself along on. And they're confronted by the flag smashers, driving these trucks of vaccines or whatever exactly that they're doing, which also didn't quite make a whole lot of sense to me. But this is their big moment, their first confrontation with the flag smashers. They don't seem to know how to work together at all.
Yeah.
They're fighting completely separately, and suddenly Bucky is, overtaken, which fine, these guys have super soldier serum, there's more of them, Bucky's not ready, sure. But then somehow the only thing Sam can think to do is to take him out of there, and that's it. They're like done with the fight. They're just like,
Yeah.
it ends, and they don't try to like do anything else with it. They almost like ignore the fact that, they're basically leaving this average Joe Captain America and his sidekick alone
Hmm.
with super soldiers, and they just start like walking down the road and bantering. And you're like,
They
I'm
just
sorry, were,
left
were
their
you
lead.
yeah, were you just like on a mission? Were you,
Yeah.
did you care at all about what was happening, who was there, what, they just sort of like are like, okay, well, I guess we're done with that.
Get in the truck
So
and go after him.
right.
Like, I mean,
Like, I know
no,
they
yeah.
smashed Red Wing, but, Falcon still has Falcon wings, so, like, we're not
Right.
even trying to, like, get back there. I don't know. It
Right.
just it was another, like, continuity thing that it's like, I get that this is, like, an offbeat, you know, odd couple teaming, but at some points you seem to suggest that there's history and familiarity, and at some points you completely ignore it, and it's another one of those, like, evenness of flow that doesn't quite make sense. You
Yep.
can't have them have a history and then conveniently ignore that history at the same time.
Yep. They started that large confrontation too quickly.
Yes.
Like that,
Yes.
there needed to be some detective work, some tracking, some,
Mhm.
you find a person, you deal with, try to figure out what they're up to or whatever
Yes.
before like you're on to their whole caravan. You've
Right.
got them here. You
Right.
get you
Now what do
get
we
beat
do with
up.
them?
Yeah, you get beat up, and then they keep driving away, and now that's it. Well, now the group knows you're after them for one. You've really
Right.
blown this, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how it's tough with these shows too that come out weekly or whatever. See,
Mhm.
because I had that with WandaVision. It's like, well,
Mhm.
some of this is going to be dependent on what comes next,
Yes.
how I'm going to feel about this. And so yeah, we'll see but they can't fix their disjointedness with whatever comes next. That's
Right.
that's stuck. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, the third one is out. Probably gonna try and watch that, not tonight yet, but tomorrow. So we'll see how I feel about episode number 3. But yeah, so far, I'm unfortunately disappointed in this show in a way that I wasn't with WandaVision. WandaVision had its own disappointments.
yeah,
Um,
it's not perfect, but
yeah, no, I mean, what it truly is. Um, but yeah, I'm much less impressed with the production on this show.
mhm.
And I think that unfortunately it's a little bit rushed, and maybe it's a product of, them trying to get it out too quickly after WandaVision. Maybe they didn't quite take enough time. They were splitting, production
Yep.
teams between the two shows to get them out back to back. But yeah.
I think they're done separately. I think they're quite the separate entity. I just hope that Disney is not being the kind of pushy thing. Hey, we need this to release within
Yeah,
2 weeks of the end. Like
that's what
and
I
then
mean. Yeah.
and they keep needing to follow up because we might lose subscribers if you don't have
Right.
something follow up right away.
Right.
Um, so
Quality over
I hope,
quantity, Disney.
yeah, yeah. But well, we shall see. Everybody else, let us know what your thoughts are thus far on
Yeah, maybe are we being too
Falcon and Winter
nitpicky?
Soldier.
Like, you know, are
Well,
other people really enjoying this, and we just need to
yeah,
like chill out and step back and take a beat. I don't know, or like maybe you've seen episode 3 and you're like, don't worry, hang in there, it gets better. Let us know,
yeah,
because I'm very interested, because I feel like this show is like it's quite far different from WandaVision. So
yep,
interested to see where we're going.
yep. All right. Well, that was our first episode back after our break,
Woohoo!
episode 54. How'd you like being in reversed roles? How do you like the name John?
It suits me. It suits me.
I
It's it's grounded and real.
I'm gonna have people call me Andrea, so definitely going. Whoa, we're being flipped.
Oh, I'm back. I'm me again.
Oh my gosh, I felt that in my body. It shift. Um. Anyways, everybody should follow us here on Twitch,
Mhm.
and I see we have my cousin followed us 4 hours
Hey,
ago. So thank you, Kimberly, for the follow.
appreciate it.
You, yeah, like us on YouTube, subscribe there, like those
Mhm.
videos. That really helps. Let us know. I posted a few clips. If you want, if you don't like the long form and you want more clips, let me know.
Mhm.
Give us feedback there. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I posted earlier that I was going to be streaming with my brother-in-law, Lucas333. That's Lucas with a K on Twitch. We played some
Mhm.
Fortnite today, so follow him to get notifications for when he goes live. And I'm usually playing with him if I can. Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. You can check them out on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. So you can like, follow, share all their stuff. And yeah, write a review of us on your favorite podcast directory. That helps out a lot. Tell your other friends and family, hey, um, on your commute, while you're doing your chores, whatever it is, open up that podcast app and listen to us yammer for 90 minutes or so. Damn. We will hopefully be back next week. I'm getting a
Mhm.
little more busy with work, and I might be responsible for a few um, delays in the coming weeks, but make it through
Well, you've
this.
earned it. I had one big one, so if you have a couple little ones here and there. Totally
Yeah,
understandable.
it's all right. It'll be okay until the audience starts demanding, "Hey, where were you on whatever day?"
That's
I was
right.
expecting a new episode. Like if you start demanding that, then then what can we do but oblige? So,
That's right. Hold us accountable, people.
yep. All right. Well, it's good to finally talk to you again, Andrea. And
Yes, you too.
thanks for joining me. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Cheers, everybody.